from the States, and it's a friend of mine who's been cutting for a while now. And so I thought that I'd take this commentary in English. I'm not the best one speaking English, so y'all excuse me. But anyway, my friend over here, or my customer, he wanted a high fade, so I was like, no problem, I'll manage that. So to start off the haircut, I started off combing his hair in place so everything is neat and clean, because like I told y'all earlier in my previous videos that I like to have a clean canvas to work on before actually start cutting. So I asked him exactly how much do you want on the top. He said chop it off. I was like, cool, all right. So we chopped it off. He didn't really know if he wanted a wavelength or if he wanted a little bit more. So I was like, all right, let us gradually go down. So I started with a 2 guard, obviously, because that's the one guard that I thought was gonna be a good starting point, and he liked it. So I was like, all right, we can keep at it then. So I chopped it off with the number 2 guard, and then I started to brush his hair to, of course, like I said earlier, have a clean canvas. I think it's very important to have a clean canvas so that you can see everything that you're doing. Because I remember during my first years of actually cutting hair, I used to cut my friends' hair just for fun, and I wasn't really brushing the hair so much. I was just cutting, which led to the haircuts not being the best that it could be, the best version of the haircut that it could be. But once I learned the small details and small gimmicks, I quickly saw that it's a huge difference. And not only did I want to speak about the haircut and how I do it, but I also wanted to speak about how important details is, and no matter what you're pursuing in life. Anyways, to start off the haircut with the guidelines, I started off with the skin line about in the temple area where his hairline is finished, or where it ends. So I started off with my detachable clipper, and like I said, it's the 5-0 guard. So what I've told y'all earlier is, if you learn how to combine this machine with your fading machines, or you can even fade with this, but if you learn how to combine, it'll be a game changer. So anyways, his skin is a little bit sensitive, so I decided not to go with the foil shaver. So I jumped straight to the lever open, and I go about an inch, half an inch, 1 centimeter of length up. So I do that around the head, and I make sure that I don't leave any big spot. Oh, I just dropped my whiteboard behind me. So I make sure that I don't leave any hairs behind, especially at the first guideline. Like I said before, also always remember to have a soft touch when you cut your clients, because you don't want the blade. First of all, the blade is made out of metal. You don't want the metal to, hammer their hair. So always have a clean and gentle touch. Customers like that. So to remove that first guideline, I use my lever closed about halfway up on the guideline. So I go up, I flick out like half the way, and then I switch to the halfway open. So the lever should be between closed and open, and then I flick the rest out. So I'll go through with it through the head, rest of the head, and then I jump to my next step. Important to know that at first, when you're a beginner barber, it's kind of tough to remove that line, especially when you don't know what you're doing. So this took me, I don't understand. First, when I started to cut, I used to watch 360 G's a lot. But problem with him was when he was removing the line below the first skin line, the first guideline. It was hard for me to cope because he was just using the trimmer or close, and I was like, how are you doing that? Because I can't. And then one day I came across a barber on YouTube, and he actually used this technique, and I tried it, and it really worked. So I really appreciated the fact that he showed his technique on the internet, and I think that's one reason why I want to learn, why I want to teach people how to really cut hair. I don't really want to charge people a lot, but yeah, it's free. I want to teach for free. Anyways, my next step is number 1 guard open. As you can see, I have the same length on, same width on the guideline as I had on the first guideline, the lever open. So I have the same width, same everything. So I use the same technique as well, soft touch, but be sure to get the hairs that are to be taken. Be precise. Don't have like the first guideline at like 1 centimeter of width, and then you have like 2 centimeters with the 1 guard. That's not ideal. What you want to do is you want to have everything lined with each other. So if you have 1 centimeter one, then you should keep going, except for when you get to the 2 guard. Then I guess you can just freehand and flick out however the client likes his haircut. So to lighten up the guideline that I just created with the 1 guard open, I use the 1 guard closed to lighten it up, to soften it up, and then I do it around the head, and then I switch to the 0 guard. I'm not there yet, but as you can see, pay attention to details. Pay attention to how I'm flicking out. I know it's a little bit sped up, but it's important that you see in overall how I flick out and how my wrist is working. Look at my hands, how they move. Look at how I'm holding the clipper. Look at like pay attention to details. If you really want to learn, you got to pay attention to details. And that's what I wanted to talk about this episode, that details are very important. Like, for example, you can't have minutes without seconds. You can't have hours without minutes, and you can't have days without hours, and you can't have years without days. So what I'm trying to say is details is the base of all good things. Like, a lot of people, they really don't focus on the details, and it shows, like they just want to jump to the professional level. You got to focus on, you got to master the details. I mean, if you look at a painting, that's just drawn with 1 line, and then you look at a painting with shadows and structure and all that. That's because of the details. The details make sense and is valued. So anyways, I'm currently at the 0 guard, and I have it first halfway open, the lever halfway open, and then I lighten up the line again, and then I switch to close to fade it in completely. So what I do is, when I fade, I have mentioned this before, and I will mention this every video that I do, because repetition is key, right? So what I do when I fade, I brush up with the clipper. Exactly when you brush down your hair with your brush, I brush up with the clipper, and that's how I fade. I mean, that's and I use the corners for some spots or whatever. I mean, some people use the corners for everything. I use the corners for some things or a few things. Yeah. But what I wanted to tell you guys, I wanted to talk about details, why it's so important. Like, for me, for example, I was a basketball player. I used to play a lot. I used to train a lot. But the problem was, when I was training, I wasn't focusing on details. I think that the 1% that make it, they focus on the details so much, and they completely master it. That's why it's a huge difference between people who, you know, just train to train. Because I know a lot of people, they just practice to practice. They don't really focus on the details, like having the shot completely exact every time, or whatever you want to think of, like having your foot exact, like the same. That's the skill that you develop by focusing on details. So I mean, even studying the game, if you study your game, if let's say for example you play football or basketball, it doesn't matter really. If you look at your footage or tape and you pay attention to details, next time you play the game and you see the same kind of pattern that you saw, or same situation that you saw in the video that you were studying, you'll know exactly what to do. You'll know exactly how to place your feet and, you know, drive to the basket or score the goal, whatever. However, after I blended out the one guard line or guideline, I jumped to the two guard to remove the bulk from the side. And once I remove the bulk with the two guard open, I am going to switch to the 1.5 guard. So if you cut with Andes, you're probably not used to the 1.5 guard. But if you cut with the wall clippers, you probably notice them or know about them. So it's different with Andes and wall. But as I'm cutting with the wall clipper, I suggest, I'll go with the wall guards. So 1.5 guard open, flick out, use a gentle touch, brush up, brush down, brush up. Look at me, brush up, brush down, brush up, brush down. That's all I'm doing. Repetition. You just go through with the head, and then you have everything done. So afterwards, you have, after I go with the open, I switch to the closed. So this time I decided to go half-half. What I mean by half-half is I want to complete one side of the head and then move on to the next one. So now, for example, I I used my 1.5 guard open and went half the head, went back, switched it to the close, and got back to the, half the head. And then I switched, and then I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. I always think, how can I make my haircuts faster and better at the same time? You know, you don't want to be cutting for 1.5 hours. I mean, some clients like an hour of a haircut. I mean, that's my maximum time I'd like to spend on a haircut. But at the same time, you don't want to be too fast, because that's when clients start to, you know, question your, you know, fades and stuff. You don't want that. So keep it between, 45 minutes, 1 hour, and you'll be good. So anyways, I started fading. As I said, brush down, brush up. Brush down with the brush up with the clipper. So I go around the head like that. And I don't want y'all to wait too long, because I know it's kind of boring when you just see me working behind the head, not seeing actually what's going on. So I sped it up a little bit more. But in my future videos, y'all gonna see that I have a rotating chair that makes it possible for y'all to see how we're doing it both sides. So I'm working with the 1.5 guard closed again, and as you can see, the fade is coming together. You can see that it's one step. It's basically one step more left. 1, 2 step, or 1, 2, 3 steps. 1 to 3 steps. So yeah. Before I start with the one guard open, I brush down, and I brush down with the clipper as well. Because sometimes it's not only about brushing up or fading up with the clipper. Sometimes you gotta go down, just like I did. So I'm using the very gentle touch, soft touch, flick out motion, C motion, and I'm using the one guard open to smoothly blend out that last line. And yeah, as you can see here, I use the technique of, you know, going down, not only up but down as well, you know, to lay the hair in place. I think that after this step, it'll take one more step before I can blend it all in. So like my main steps are the ones that I've shown you now, like the skin line, half guard, lever open, 1 guard blended out, 2 guard blended out. But at the end, sometimes I put in the extra detailing by using the 0 guard halfway open and the 1.5 guard halfway open. Sorry, I gotta correct myself. Sometimes I use the 0 guard 75% open and the 1.5 guard 50% open. Exactly, that's how I do. So after I do those 2 last steps, I know for sure that the fade is clean. Exactly. So now I'm using myself of the 1 guard and blending it out, brushing a lot of brushing, because when you get to the shorter hairs, you tend to brush them up. And as you can see, the fade looks pretty damn well and done. I'm working with the 1 guard around the head, looking for spots, looking for whatever that can be found. And with time, you'll develop an eye, sort of an eye that can see certain spots and certain things, and that makes you a good barber. I mean, everything comes with practice and experience. So don't stress it. Just keep at it, and you'll get good at it. And if you know someone that cuts hair good or well, and you feel that you can take some help from him or her, just don't be afraid to ask. I mean, from what I've seen, a lot of people they have too much ego, too much pride to actually go out their way and ask for a favor or ask for help. They feel like they feel like they finna be little. They feel belittled when they ask something, and I don't feel that that's the case. I feel that in order to get something, you gotta ask. You gotta ask people. If you ask not, you have not. I mean, no one is self-made. You hear a lot of people say they're self-made here and there. You're not self-made. For me, I think it's more of you're self-taught. You are self-taught rather than self-made. I think that's the difference. So yeah, I went behind the head and worked with the I think the 0 guard. I was wandering off right now, so I forgot where I was. Yeah. Anyways, I think I end the haircut with the 1.5 guard halfway open, and I just flick out quick, remove the extra hairs that sticking out. I go up and I go down, as you can see, especially with Afro hair, African American hair or Afro hair. You gotta go up and down. It's not so necessary doing that if you cut straight hair, but Afro hair you have to do it. So anyways, the fade is cool. It's looking crispy, you know. It's looking great, really great. So to the lineup, you're probably wondering what I'm doing right now. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm trimming down the front hairs to make the line sharper. So what I used to do also was I used to put some hairspray on there to freeze the hair, or yeah, exactly, to get an even more crispier line. But what I do is when I line up, I start in the middle, create my first point, and then I just work it from there. So let's say I work from the middle to the right, back to the left, back to the right. And I noticed that he had too much hair on the front. So I was like, let me trim it down a little bit more and continue to line it up. So as I said, I'll start in the middle. I'll work gradually to the left, gradually to the right, and I take my time. I really do take my time. This clip right here that you're watching is sped up to 250%. So you can just think for yourself how much time I take, because it's all in the details. You gotta, like, don't try to be quick. Try to be precise, and try to like work slowly, but you know, safe upwards, and don't push the line back. And that's why you gotta be, you know, careful. So I take my time doing the lineups. You know, it can take about, you know, 5 minutes, but I don't care. You know, just sit still. If you want to have a good line, sit still. You know, sometimes it go faster, sometimes it doesn't, but it's all up to what kind of hairline the client has, or how easy it is to cut. Yeah, sometimes take a minute or so, but for this time, I really had to, you know, take my time. Don't push anything back, because he has some light spots on the head. But as you can see, it looks very well. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all, if y'all haven't followed my Instagram, link is going to be in the description. So go ahead and follow my page, subscribe if you haven't, and like, comment if you have any questions. I am gladly willing to help. I love helping out people. And I mean, I think that's the meaning of my life, you know, share my knowledge. Anyways, this is the cut. It's looking fly. Yeah, he's feeling himself. Brush it off. All right, fellas, flying family, this is the cut. I really hope y'all like it, and I'll see you on the next video next week. Stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and follow my Instagram. Peace.